So welcome everyone. We have a special guest. Harriet Hunter is joining us, and I want to give a little bit of how I met her. We have Super Saturday Recovery Summits on in the rooms, and she commented on journaling, and we've had an ongoing little conversation via email and calls. But journaling for recovery, both for partners or for addicts, it's something that I am very poor at, and want to know more. I honestly, so often it's a recommended a tool to use for recovery, for healing. And so I thought, as a special option for this week, this month, having Harriet come on and share. She's got a book. She's going to tell you about this. She also has a course on this if you want to learn more, and she'll tell you more about that as well. But just to kind of give us a background on why journaling, how it can be helpful, how to do it. I mean, like, it's a little terrifying for me to just sit down and think about having to write. So I think this will be useful for all of us. And as with everything, take what is useful for you and and apply it. And anything that isn't, at least at this time, it's all good. So without further ado, we're going to get started. You've got a picture of your book behind you. So there you go. So Harriet, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and how journaling became a thing for you for in recovery? I love the award over the picture of the book too. So
Thank you. Thank you, Tammy. First of all, before I say anything, I want to say thank you so very much for allowing me this forum to talk about journaling to people who may be interested, and such as yourself saying that you've not journaled before. It has been more than just a journey. It has been an absolute life-saving journey for me. Psychology today is a real proponent, if you will, to journaling and the effects of journaling. And there's so many statistical, professional publications out there that will testify to the wonderful effects of journaling. I started 40 years ago. It saved my life then. I had 2 suicide attempts. I am an alcoholic addict in recovery for over 21 years.
yay.
And so, yeah, thank you. And so it was back then that I realized I had an affinity for journaling. It was the only sense of grounding, if you will, that and it gave me purpose then, and as it surely does today. In the last 20 years, my husband died 17 years ago, and when I entered in recovery is when my journaling took on a whole nother purpose. I had no courage when I first got sober, so I had to get sober online back in 1999, at a time that was almost unheard of. As far as I know, back at that time, and again, this is only my experience, there were only really two big recovery groups out there. One is called Lamplighters. I think they're still around today, and they are mammoth. So I tried them for a while and I was too overwhelmed. So I found another one called KISS, Keep It Simple Sisters. And I was with them for 20 years. I'm telling you this because it's how I worked the steps, how I learned to journal, if you will, therapeutically. I learned how to journal online in the sacred rooms of recovery a little over 20 years ago. And it was back then, I had a sponsor from California. And in order for her to trust that I was doing what she expected me to do, I would have to, but I chose to journal. I chose to write it down. And then I would send her my gratitudes. I would send her my resentments. I would send her everything that we did, see. So that's pretty much how I got into journaling. And it just expanded there over the next 21 years. I worked in H&I hospitals and institutions for over 20 years in a women's medium lockdown facility here, not far from me. And I carry the message there. I've been doing that for 18 years. And while I was there, I had to develop pieces of paper of information, if you will, things that the women can do right where their feet are to change their perspective. Out of that grew, I got cognitively well. Let's put it that way. I was able, yes, to my surprise, start putting facts together in a logical sequence. And that's what journaling is. So fast forward to 7 years ago, my daughter at 26 died in Australia. And while I was there with her, of course, I journaled every single day. But when I got home, I spent the year reading and becoming an expert on RV travel because I was on a mission. I knew it was almost like a live or die mission. I had to get out of Dodge and I had to travel. I had to get away. So while I was away for 7 weeks, I journaled. And this became the beginning. I journaled about emotions. I journaled about death, about grief, about denial, everything in the world you can imagine, emotion-wise, I journaled about. And so when I got home, I said to my mother, jeepers, I've got the beginning of a daily book here. And so it became. So I spent the next year coming to another 165 days. And from that came Miracles of Recovery. It is a daily inspirational with its core in 12-step programs. However, I have written it holistically. In other words, it's written for Al-Anon, it's written for OA, NA, AA, because it speaks to our isms of the disease. I, she, and me, if you will. That's what I call the isms. It speaks to our disease on every possible level, how we came into the rooms, the fear that held us back, so much more. So that's Miracles. Now, in getting back to journaling, here are some basic. Can you see that, Tammy?
I can see you and your behind screen. I don't see share screen yet, but.
Oh, you don't? Yeah. So I have to do that again.
Yes, you do. You're doing great. So share screen.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Every time you want to share the screen and share the document, you do that. And then if you want to switch back, you hit stop share in between.
Okay. Thank you.
You got it. Now I can see it. So.
Okay, good. So when someone is taking this course, these are a few of the things you can expect. Within every module, I do a video that explains for people. So we're expecting that anybody who maybe can read, maybe doesn't have a phone, maybe is better off seeing it on the screen, but also seeing me give them an introduction. So it's in video, it's in PDF, and it's also on the screen as part of the course. And this is a little bit, I give lots of information because I'm a big believer, information is power. So there are lots of free handouts. I'm looking for the down arrow here. Oh, here it is. Each Tuesday and Thursday of the month, I'll be doing my own Zoom meeting with people in the class because there is one class here. I took it when I was on a writing retreat, and it is just unbelievable. We'll get there. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So, what is journaling? It is an honest reflection of who we are today, where we want to be. It is a walk to the heart, truly. That's what journaling is. You know, we cannot get away from ourselves when we write. When I write, something happens to this creative, artistic left side of the brain. And I am able to cognitively understand so much more when I write. So the creative side of the brain is being exercised, is being drawn upon. And that's what happens for me when I journal. It's intensely personal for some. It's an ability to engage our highest self at all times when we're journaling. Because when we're doing this type of journaling, instead of just willy-nilly putting pen to paper and coming up with a children's rhyme, when we're journaling with intention, we're on a personal mission anyway. And the intent is solidified by the words that we use. So we honor and expose first thoughts. Very first thoughts are the most important words we're supposed to use, because otherwise we're maintaining control. We're being the critic, we're being the judge and the jury. No. There's no room for that when we write with a purpose, when we journal. If we were not supposed to if we were not supposed to see and understand what is coming forth, the words wouldn't be there. So we honor the fact that when we sit and we want to write about a hurricane or a tornado or the weather or our family member, whatever we write about, whatever comes forth, that's what we're supposed to put down on paper. Because then that's how we become authentic, is by honoring our true highest self. And when we start that process, more becomes revealed. So that's what journaling is. What journaling is not, it's not structured. It's not logical. It's not linear. It's not to be judged or critiqued. No. Journaling comes from deep within, from a sacred place, sometimes that has never seen the light of day. See, so we want to honor those places and just let it be what it is. There is no right way. There is no wrong way. I shouldn't say there is no right way. When you're journaling with a purpose, the right way is to just let it be. No pencils, no erasing, no crossing out. Just allow it to be what it is. So we don't think about appropriateness. We're going to let our fingers and our thoughts dictate what's going to be written and trust that we are being led. See, we are being led by something greater than ourselves. Do not have expectations. No, just whatever is. Don't edit. The idea is to allow the grace and goodness that comes from deep within when we allow it to be, without adding any preconceived notions. Oh my gosh, I should have said this. Oh, but what about that? But if I put this down, somebody's going to see it and they're going to take it the wrong way. No. We don't care about any of that. It's a spiritual walk to the heart of who we are and who we want to be. Therefore, with each thought, we embody love, acceptance of ourself, and an unwavering trust that what we see is absolutely given by spirit. So maybe I do talk a little bit here I thought I had to have a whole nother document. Good. Okay, so course number 1 is describing just what we went over, and in a little bit more depth, of course, with a little bit more information. Module 2 are rituals. We talk about different rituals and use bedside thought and dreams, because that is a time when so many of us creative types see things, feel things. We wake up in the middle of the night and we can't go to sleep because our mind is racing. Oh my goodness, I better put this down. Oh, but you know, I was supposed to do this. So with that, one thought leads to another. And it's a good time to keep going. Prayers, meditation, all of these become a part of our written self if we want them to. What are some other ways I found creativeness? Oh my goodness, I don't leave my house without a tape recorder. In the car, because I do a lot of traveling, as Tammy, I bet you do too. And in the car, miracles happen. Titles of my next book come up. I will hear somebody say something on the radio and say, oh, I never thought of that before. I have to have that. It's beautiful words. When we sit quietly, sitting quietly opens up creative windows and doors that take us to someplace else. And when it happens sometimes in meditating too, in the car, through journaling, when that happens, it's incumbent upon us to put that down, because those are messages from the heart. Again, if it were not true, if it was not helpful, we wouldn't see it. It would never come into our view or into our thoughts. All right, so we talk a lot about that. We talk about Julia Cameron's book, The Artist Way, in module number 2. Julia Cameron is not only one of us, but she is a great writer and has made millions off of this book, The Artist Way. Julia subscribes to the fact that when you wake up in the morning and your feet hit the ground and you say to yourself, I'm too tired, I don't feel like doing this today, she says, too bad, do it anyway. That if you want to become a writer in touch with her muses, if you want to become someone who is in touch with herself, then you write 3 pages at least every morning. It doesn't matter what it is, you can write 1,000 times. I hate this, this is boring, I don't want to do this. See, but it is the psychological act of getting the pen moving. Because once that happens, our brain never stops. Our brain is back there thinking of other things, where I got to go, what do I have to do? Oh, wouldn't that make a good little poem? Oh, wouldn't that make a great little short story? So it is the repetition, which is the practice in and of itself of getting our muscle memory, inviting our muscle memory, inviting the best of who we are, and getting it into have it come automatically. How am I doing on time? Module 3.
You're good.
Okay. Module 3 is about reflective journaling. This is where we have lots of fun. I have changed, I could do 8 modules, 8 topics, but I'm narrowing it to 6 just to see how people get a feel. So reflective journaling is the ability to identify important levels of what's happened in your life. The events may include your relationship, moves, careers, anything that we want to look back on and expound upon. Exercises to encourage recognition and depth of thinking might be, and this is one, I deserve. What do you think you deserve? Most people don't know where to begin. Deserve? I don't deserve anything. I never thought about that before. You know, what do you mean deserve? Well, by gosh, it's, see, where I like to take my my writers is a place that we don't go, that we've never been. We all know how to describe, I'm angry, I'm ticked off, I'm, you know, but not many of us know how to articulate, even in the verbal sense, how it makes us feel, how something makes us feel. So I deserve is a good place. It's a good exercise to start. I am. There are several things we can do with I am that kind of mirror, if you will, I deserve. But in my case, at a writing conference, one of the women had us do this, and it was a hoot. Everybody who does it, love it. You sit down and you write, you just come up with a page or 2 pages of really short, quick, little snippets of text. For instance, she wrote, you know, I am from the South. I am from the, by God, South Virginia. You know, I had a maid and my husband would kill the chickens in the morning, and I am this and I am that. And it really was so entertaining to hear these short, quick little quippets of who we are. Excuse me. The last one, of course, is called I Remember. Well, what is it that you remember that you haven't looked at in the last 30, 40, 50 years? You know, it's an exercise down memory lane, and we just get the ball rolling. What is it you remember? It doesn't matter what it is. If it's good or bad or sad, we just give it its due, and we put it out there. A lot of this writing we'll talk about in our course, but as we go in this next course, therapeutic writing, we will use the gratitudes for the group, but that's all, because this can get very, can touch some chords. So I'm grateful. This kind of leads on into what I was saying previously about I deserve. Most people don't know what they're grateful for. But then if they do, I was told, tell me how it makes you feel. It's one thing to be grateful that your boxcar got fixed in time for the Derby next week. But now, how does that make you feel? Does that make you feel excited? Does it make you feel grateful? Or, I mean, you know, you can add 100 different adjectives. What we want to do in this exercise, this exercise for me more than anything else was the beginning of a permanent shift, a permanent transformation in my psyche. My world went from being pissed off, my world is black, nobody cares, you know, you live and then you die kind of thing, to, oh my goodness, my cup runneth over. I'm grateful about everything today. And this is how it starts. Without this, we're never able to clean away what we call the wreckage of our past, because there's no room for anything positive. So in section 2, what we write about is our resentments that happen on a daily basis, no more, just today. You know, I resent that I'm waiting for the lawnmower guy and he can't come, and I got to find somebody else, and I can't get into this meeting, and it is every single thing that goes on in our head that makes us want to just scream. And there's a lot of stuff during a 24-hour period, whether it's our dogs or we stub our toe, or the wife comes in late, or the husband is gone and forgot to pick up something. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we reduce the amount of stress and negativity that holds residence in our brain. And we add more gratitude, than resentments. Because before we start writing, or before we came into recovery, all we knew were resentments. Oh, I can claim that baby, no problem. But tell them to come up with a gratitude? Whoa, very, very different. And then asking them to explain, how does it make you feel? Becomes all the more difficult. So our job is to write a lead statement. I am resentful. I am pissed off. I am angry. I am hurt. I am disappointed. Pick one at blank, whatever. And then either write a sentence, a paragraph, a page. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that we close it with a little prayer at the end that says, you know, Yahweh, whoever, please take this from me. I don't want it anymore. I'm done. And we get rid of it. And we let it go. Because compared to our gratitudes, we come to believe it is absolutely inconsequential. So the next section of this is all part of therapeutic journaling, is we have a dear spirit, God, deity, dear something bigger than me section. And this is very personal, and it should be. Nobody but the writer will see this, because I have found, and I believe for myself, that this journey where my feet are right now is a journey between me and my God. So in order for me to build a conscious contact with this God of my understanding, I write to him as if it were a child, or a best friend, or a father, or a mother. And that's how I improve my connection with my higher power. So that concludes module 4. Module 5, yeah, I had some trouble with 5 and 6. This, I think I made this should be 5, I believe. Introducing and writing about the senses. We could spend a half a day here just writing about our senses. Sight, hearing, touch, smell, and our 6th sense, our intuitive sense. So I don't have too much going on here. I have a great deal more material I could add, and there are exercises that are on the training course, but I don't have them here. Well, I have, very basic. For example, the alleyway smells of urine and leftover rotting meat. It's an assault to our eyes and to our nose. Or we could say, how about this? The wind changed to something foul, dead, wafting up from the darkened pit. So what we want to do is come up with examples to use these words. This exercise is most helpful when somebody is writing a novel or fiction. I do nonfiction, but in fiction, it is all about show and don't tell. So here we go with more examples on the senses. Now, this is the last week. Review of meditation and stress. So here I talk about basic mindfulness meditation. Journaling, for me, is really akin to mindfulness meditation. You know, we cannot stop our brain. Mindfulness is not about stopping the brain. It's about watching our thoughts go by and just letting them be. It's about acknowledging what our thoughts are. Oh, I'm still angry, I see, because my dog got sick and he wouldn't stop eating that grass. So mindfulness is about acknowledging what we feel, how we feel, but not putting labels on it. We just let it go by and be what it is. That's mindfulness. Stress, oh my, I could write a book about stress. Mindfulness is not. It's not a place to relax and fall asleep. It's not a religion. It's a mindfulness exercise that's been practiced by the Buddhists and Tibetans for 2,500 years. It's not about shutting down the brain rather, and not thinking. It's not about rising above ordinary life. Rather, it is about experiencing ourselves more fully by not passing the ragged edges of our life. It's allowing ourselves to honor all of us, no matter what we're experiencing or feeling. And there are exercises and things that we do and handouts that I give for all of these courses. For some suggestions for mindfulness and journaling. Okay, this is just how to set yourself up for the very best experience you can have while journaling. I have a little corner in my bedroom in a old wingback chair with a table full of candles and angels and things that I love, feathers from outdoors, maybe a special little whatever, okay. You get a bottle, get your favorite water or tea, whatever you drink, music, no music, tapestry, color pencils. We set ourselves up because we are worthy and we deserve to do everything that we can to get the big picture and start connecting the dots of our life. That's what journaling with a purpose does. And there we go, guys. Wow, a little after 1, not bad.
So if you want to stop sharing your screen, I've got, I wrote notes and we've got some questions.
Sure,
so we'll start with those. So thank you for this. It's been so informative, but like I've got notes too. So the first question is it okay to type rather than handwrite my journal? How about dictating it so that the spoken words are typed by the computer into the journal?
Yes. However, because the typing uses a different part of the brain, the typing hooks into our logical, efficient perfectionism area, I suggest type it, but then go back and write it out.
That would be interesting to see too, if like what you typed and then what you wrote are different, because like you're saying, you're hitting different parts of the brain.
Exactly. Exactly. Not only that, it's going to bring up different things. Yes, indeed.
And so on this similar, you know, you talk about having a tape recorder. Thank goodness my phone is always with me and it could record. But then do you take those things that you've recorded and then you hand write those as well? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Okay.
But I have little journals everywhere for different things. If a thought comes up for a new book or a new article I want to write, that's where it goes. Okay, yeah, it depends what I'm thinking about was what I do with it. I don't want to miss the questions in the chat either.
They're not supposed to be questions in the chat, so I'm checking. So
or maybe it's just Q&A. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing the Q&A. Yeah. So here we go.
Okay.
Here's the next one. My husband becomes greatly discouraged to journal because of the horrific handwriting that he later sometimes can't read himself. I was going to ask you about that. Do you go back and reread them? So the horrific handwriting that he can't read himself and his spelling. Though I've tried sharing with him the benefits of journaling for his recovery, aiding in his dissociation and memory, but he throws in the towel because of the above. What would you tell him that could be helpful?
To just trust the process. If he likes to write, you know, I've had a lot of sponsees. I work with a lot of women, and probably 60% of them say, oh, I hate journaling. No, I can't do that. I won't do that. But as my sponsees see, that becomes a part of what we do. That's part of our recovery. So if they don't want to do it, that's one of the conditions. I would tell them, trust the process. After a while, tell him after 30 days of trying it, I could almost guarantee he will feel differently. Not only that, nobody needs to see what he does. This is part of him. This is part of his inner journey, and that belongs to him. It should be sacrosanct.
Yeah, and I was thinking, you know, it isn't, it like you said earlier, it's not about perfection, it's not about the spelling, it's not about the handwriting. And I type grocery or write grocery lists and hardly can read. I'm going, what was I trying to put on the list? You know, so my handwriting can be horrible, but at the end of the day, I'm thinking, for me, if I journaled, I wrote down the right word regardless of whether I can read it or not, you know?
That's right. That's right. Here is the other thing that happens. Until you spot it, until you can spot that word, you ain't got it.
So going back to that, then, do you go back and reread your journals? I mean, because if you're
Yeah.
writing,
Oh,
okay.
yeah. Oh, sure. Yes. And it serves as a marker for how far I've come.
Okay. So you're looking at it more as a, you know, so you're not rereading it tomorrow or something. You're looking at it
I've got 20
after a
years
period of time. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And I could see that. You know, like I like, seriously, this is an area that I'm going to buy your book. But it's one of those where I might even take the course, but what I think of is, you know, like, do you get stuck in, like, you're writing this stuff and if you start rereading it, are you just kind of swirling it around? I don't think that's the case. I have a feeling you just get to process more. Is that fair?
Well, that is fair. And that is what happens a great deal of the time. It depends where you were and what came up at the time. For instance, when I was in the hospital in Australia with my daughter as she was dying in ICU, she never left, my only child. I still have a hard time. But anyway, the only thing I wrote was letters to God and, oh my God, if you brought her to this, you will get her through it. I think I wrote that no less than 1,000 times, you know, because I'm there all day long and she's not talking and. So when I look back on that, I don't know. I don't know. There wasn't much to it. I only wrote two things, that mantra and God, you know. Yeah, there wasn't much. I wasn't writing it for my own insight.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, so the next question, how do you carry multiple journals for different purposes when you travel by plane for work?
Well, I don't know that you need them for different topics. I would keep it simple, especially in the beginning. What I do is I have a what worked best for me. Okay, so I can say what worked best for me is a 3-ring binder. And that would serve your purpose, especially in therapeutic, where you've got gratitude section, where you have a resentment section, and boy, you want to keep that close, and where you have a God section. You can also add to it if you want for whatever you want to address.
I just had this thought with that is like, how cool would it be to be able to take a resentment, you know, and then turn it into a gratitude? Like at some point, being able to
Oh,
move the page from the
oh.
resentment section to the gratitude.
Oh, and that's the point. I could cry now. Yeah, because that's the whole point. You know, we spent our lives being bogged down in the darkness. Now, when we can shift that and put a positive spin on it, we start to morph. We start to literally transform. In fact, that's one of the things I talked about early on is there are articles and proof out there that gratitude writing can cause permanent, not willy-nilly, but permanent transformation in our thinking, in the way we view other people. Yes, absolutely.
Well, and I think that in my early recovery, I had to write a gratitude list, and now I'm also connecting the wisdom of that. I couldn't just have it mentally in my head. I had to have the gratitude list, you know,
Right.
so the act of writing it down, having it be visible, you know, probably unbeknownst to me was, you know, part of the key of the transformation.
Well, it really truly is. I believe it can be. It has a great potential to be. It depends on how bad you want it and how hard you're willing to work at it.
Which is true of all things in recovery and healing. So, okay. So the next question,
Yeah.
can you share the journaling material via email? I missed the first half of the webinar, the journaling material via email. Oh, so why don't, this would be a great time. What's your website? How can they reach you? So
Sure.
let's share that.
Okay, the best way to find out everything that's out there about me is to go to my website, harriethunter.org, O-R-G. There, I've got a shop set up for miracles. You can buy it online or at Amazon. My course is there. You will see if you go to my landing page, and it's called, you'll see a menu with 6 items. One is, this is a test. One is miracles, blogs, podcasts, shop, resources, and landing page. If you click on the landing page, you will find, it will take you to pretty much everything except for the blogs.
Okay, so harriethunter.org. So
Yes, ma'am.
hopefully you've all got that, even on the recording. So, okay, so then the next question is, do you suggest to keep resentments in the journal? Which I think you've answered that, but let's talk about that. I am fearful that someone may find it and find their name or situation and be triggered or become upset because of what I have written about them in order to process. And I think that that's really key with all of this journaling. You know, if it's private, you know, how do you, you know, if you're in a place with other people, how do you keep it safe and sacred?
Well, there are a couple scenarios, either with your spouse, which is a common problem, or like you say, if you're in with several other people. For both it needs to be sacred. However you can best pull that off. If you're in with a group of people, keep it in your car. Keep it in the trunk of your car, because probably no place is sacred. If it's with your spouse, this is a great time to have a real communication. You know, honey, I need to sit and talk to you about something, but I am trying something that could be revolutionary and change the course of our marriage and certainly our relationship. So I need to ask you, please, permission to let me have this sacred space. And if it works, wonderful. If it's not comfortable for you, then I would say the same thing. Put it under your side of the bed, in your briefcase, in the car, in the trunk, somewhere sacred. Yes, I'm a firm believer that everybody deserves to have a certain piece of their life that's absolutely private. And this, in my opinion, would qualify. This is because this is between you and your God, okay? How could you ever work the steps if they weren't sacred?
And I was thinking, like, if you're in a relationship, how cool would it be if you both, committed to, like, let's just try this. Let's see where it goes. But then you each have your own private sacred space, and
Right.
yeah, and it may be, like you're able to share the gratitudes. And go like I just have to, there would be points of opportunity to share, resentments, probably not, but how cool would that be if, you were able to, as in a relationship, pull some insights to, towards, I think that would be interesting. It'd be awesome.
That's a great idea, Tammy.
Okay,
Yes.
so what is your recommended time to spend journaling? How much time daily, weekly? That was interesting because you said 3 pages a day, and I was like, oh, like I have no fathom of what time. Like, is that 10 minutes? Is that 2 hours? I have no idea like
Yeah.
what that would do if it was like I had to write 3 pages.
Let me distinguish, and I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to distinguish Julia Cameron's. Julia's 3 pages is wonderful. If you're not on a mission and you could care less about all of the skeletons in your closet, if you care about the skeletons in your closet and how to start connecting the dots or put the pieces of a puzzle that's your life together, then journaling with a purpose is more for you. About how long it would take, it depends. Some days I write only gratitudes, never any less than 30 minutes. Let's just say that. Some days I am depressed, I'm angry, there's pain and anguish in my life, and I may sit for 2 or 3 hours and get all that stuff out. When I write to my God, I use common English leading questions, leading words, if you will, for prompts for starters. What, when, how, where, and why? Jesus, why did my daughter die? Why am I left? What am I here for? What is my purpose? When am I going to know? These are all starting points for us to connect on a spiritual level closer and be closer to our higher power spiritually.
Okay, so I'm going to ask it because like I'm going 30 minutes and my brain just explodes. So like if I'm willing to try, if I'm willing to start, is it enough to just say I'm willing to sit down and write and I commit to 10 minutes? But if I'm willing to commit for 10 minutes every day, if it goes longer, great. But is it okay? Like, can I give myself permission to just try?
You can. However, that tends to be the excuse that we need to bow out. We are inherently very undisciplined people. I will say anybody who is in recovery of any kind is totally undisciplined. We are always looking for the easy way out, whether it's sobriety, whether it's going to step 1, stopping at 3 because we don't want to face 4. We can talk and justify ourselves into and out of anything. So I would be very careful. If this is something that you think would benefit you, then I would say no less than 30 minutes. 30 minutes, you would find. I had to get up at 5 in the morning when I was working to find the time to do this. Or I would break it up, 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes or an hour at night before I went to bed. This is not just journaling willy-nilly. This is more of a commitment that you're making to yourself because you want to reap the rewards of something much greater.
Thank you for clarifying. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have to be
That's
willing.
one of the differences. No, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the differences with Julia's work and my work. She says 3 pages. Doesn't matter what you write about, doesn't matter. Well, the only thing she does adhere to is that I can do it anyway.
Yeah.
And I like that. I respect that because I know myself. I'm the first one. Oh my God, let's face it. We've got 1,001 excuses. Mm-hmm.
So the next question is, in your opinion, is there any benefit to reading what you have written out loud once written? Is there any therapeutic benefit to hearing what you have written out loud?
That's a really good question. I have no letters behind my name. I am not a therapist. I tell you, I do that when I'm critiquing my books. I'm on my 3rd ebook right now. So absolutely, I read that out loud. And that helps me there. So why would it not? No matter what you're writing, you're not, but you got to remember, this is not about that critic, that the old behaviors and that old tapes that want to grab a hold of us and say, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I have a feeling, I mean, like reading it out loud, you might go, oh, that was an interesting choice of word or something like that as you're saying it. So like there could be some insights with reading it out loud too.
I think so. So long as we're careful not to engage that inner critic.
Be curious. I mean, like to be curious and go, oh, that's interesting, but without the judgment. So
Yes. And sometimes you will be amazed. Let me just share with you. Miracles of Recovery was not written by me alone. This was 1,000% a spiritual, emotional journey. My God gave me these words. There's nobody that doesn't like this book. You know why? Because you can almost tell I was having a spiritual experience on every page. So yes, you would be amazed if you write it out loud sometimes, because you will hear yourself say, where did that come from? Where did that word? I never said that word in my life before. Yes.
So there was a question in the chat. So it's, how do I keep myself from getting lost in thought when journaling? Maybe when triggered about remembering an event or going off topic. That's a good question.
That's the guy I wanted you to be sure because I saw a part of it. That's a tough one. I think, first of all, it's like I've been saying, you're not going to see what you're not supposed to see. If you see it, it's because the universe is ready for you to see it, which means you're probably not going to stop and get carried away. I stop and my thinking goes haywire when I'm not in the moment. when I'm not writing something seriously or intentionally, if I'm writing a poem or, nothing too tough. But when the going gets rough, you will stay in that thought. I promise you, because that's how it works. When you are called upon to remember something, you will see it for all that it's worth right then and there. And it may not be complete, but you're going to get snippets because the universe knows you are ready to deal with it. You are ready to see it.
Yeah, I think so often in our addictions, and this is true for partners too. We hold stuff in, and feel like we can't share it. But how
Oh my
therapeutic
goodness.
is it to be able to write it down? And like you said, it's dumping it. It is turning it over and not having to continue to hang on to those heavy burdens ourselves. So.
It is. It's letting go of what we don't need. We know how to drag ourselves down. We know how to be stuck and angry and resentful. But we do not know as human beings how to intuitively get rid of that stuff. And that's what these exercises are for. My
So
life, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. My life.
Oh no, has just changed 1,000%. You would not like me if I hadn't have been here in recovery and had spent my life journaling, because now I know that 99% of what happens to me is none of my business. Yep, it's not anybody's business. It's irrelevant to my mission. It's minutia. 99% of the stuff that happens to us is all small stuff. And that's what we're doing. We're keeping the focus on what's important. We're allowing the little stuff to go away so that what we're left with is my own goodness, is your own goodness.
So I was in my 12-step group last week, and the saying, don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff came up. So that just reminded me. So the next question is there a proven time of the day that works best to journal in order to help work through addiction issues?
Well, I think that's going to vary for a lot of people. However, the brain tends to be more alert, more ready, waiting for you to give it its next command early morning. I am an early morning person. If you wait till the nighttime, especially if it's on an addiction, you've had all day to play with it, to think about it, to minimize it. I would do it first thing in the morning. That's another thing, please, I would like for you to be aware is you, all of us, me, deserve not to minimize what we feel. All right? We've spent a lifetime doing that. Recovery is about accepting and surrendering to all that we feel. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. That's irrelevant.
Well, and good and bad is so moralistic, and as soon as I go, I did that badly, then I can immediately internalize that I am therefore bad. So those words I try very hard not to use.
Good.
And same with always and nevers, because those also trip me up. So somebody asked, and this is yes, will this talk be available to view after it is over? Yes. So on sexandrelationshiphealing.com, all spelled out, you will be able to find it. It will be up either later today or tomorrow morning. But we have under resources, you'll see previously recorded webinars, and this will be part of that as well. And yes, and it will be on YouTube. And so I will also send it to Harriet, who may decide to add it to her website as well, which is harriethunter.org for those of you that want to reach out to Harriet, join the class, buy the book. I'm going to buy the book. I'm committing to you, Harriet, and to those of you joining us that I'm going to do this. So it will be
And here's
for
my
me.
promise. Here's my promise to you and the audience. I can tell you absolutely, if you do not fall in love with it and see yourself on almost every page, I'll give you your money back. You see, because for me, it's not about the money. It is my legacy. I have no claim. This was a God thing. And yeah, it's all about the message. So no worries.
So thank you all who have joined us and for the great questions. Thank you, Harriet. Like, I don't believe in coincidences, so I'm so glad we were able to connect and we followed through. For all of you, you can always reach me, Tammy, T-A-M-I, at seekingintegrity.com. I'm happy to answer questions, but again, harriethunter.org, all the resources, and you'll find the video on sexandrelationshiphealing.com under resources, previously recorded webinars. So lots of resources there.
Thank you so much, Tammy. Again, it's really been an honor and a privilege to be here and talk to you about how my life has changed. And to your audience, if you have any other questions after the fact, either leave them with Tammy and she'll get them to me, or I can give you my email address. I bet
you can get it off your website too, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, well then please give their email address.
Yeah, sure. So it's Harriet Hunter, Odat, O-D-A-A-T as in Thomas, one day at a time, at gmail.com.
There you go. And Harriet has one T at the end.
Right here.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
You can see it on the, yeah.
Yeah. Now there are 5 comments in the chat. I'm waiting till after she completes the presentation.
Yeah, no, that was me. We're all cleaned up. We're all good.
Even with the sidebar?
Yep.
You've seen it all? Okay.
I've got all the questions and all the chats. We're all good. So thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was an honor. So thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. I'm
Bye-bye.
so grateful. Bye.
Me
everybody.
too. Bye-bye.
Thank you.